Welcome to Butch's Building Blocks. Let's build something beautiful today. I have a limb from a dogwood tree. It is 6 inches in diameter. We're going to cut a 6-inch piece off of here, and then we're going to split it in half and make 2 live edge bowls. Since my log diameter is 6 inches, I've set my bandsaw to cut at 6 inches. That'll give us a nice square piece of wood to start working with. So there's our piece of wood. We have one check mark going through it on both sides. When we split this piece of wood, we will split it as close to that check mark as possible. I've set the distance here to about 3 inches. That gives us a nice even log. And we are set to cut. So there we go. Got somewhat of a hole here. There's part of that check mark that went across. This one here, it's got a little more issues going on with it here with that big split there. But we'll be okay. We'll give it a whirl. We need to find an approximate center. Since a log is approximately 6 by 6, if we just take our corners, draw ourselves a center line. And there we go. Roughly speaking, that's going to be the center. We'll put it on our lathe, spin it around, and see if we have to make any adjustments. We are at the lathe now. We've marked our center point. We're going to put this on our live end tailstock. And now we're going to bring this up lightly. And put it into that side. And then taking a look at it, we're going to make sure that this edge is vertical. That's pretty good there. And that's actually really good there. I almost wish it was off so you could see it a little bit better. Usually it doesn't go on that nicely the first time. You usually have to make some adjustments here to get this to be perpendicular to the lathe bed. But we're good. We have our tailstock into nice solid wood. Coming to this end, you can see that we're actually into the bark, and mine is actually loose. What I'm going to have to do is mark this spot here, go to my drill press, drill in until I get into solid wood so that my 4-point drive head has something to grab a hold of while it's spinning. So I drilled my 4-inch bit until I hit nice solid wood. Don't worry about this because this is going to be the center of your bowl, and this hole will disappear. Bring our tailstock up now, lock it in place. And spin it in nice and tight. We'll give it a test spin here to make sure we're not whacking anything. Okay, set your lathe at the lowest RPM, and let's give it a test spin to make sure everything looks good. Okay, let's ramp it up a little bit. Okay, at about 750 RPM, I got some vibrations, so we're going to back it down to about 650. Now let's set our lathe, get ready to start carving. So when I put this on here, we had the one check mark that was running through it. I just grabbed it and gave it a little tug. This whole piece came off. So I've lost a good 1/4 inch off of my back. And now looking down at it, it is way off. So I'm gonna have to cut probably that much off in order to get a flat back, because it comes all the way into here. I'm not even sure if it's worth doing it or not. I did a real quick carve on this. I still have a divot there that's not taken care of. Taking a look at this, I'm gonna have about 1 3/4 of an inch worth of wood to play with. We're just gonna scrap this piece, pick up the other one. I mounted the second piece of wood on and squared it up as best I could. It is off a little bit, but I would expect that mounting a new piece of wood. I did carve a slot for my jaws to grab a hold of when I turn it around. It's not to the full depth, but it's a starter. Next thing I'm going to do is take my bowl gouge and turn this flat relative to these two centers. This whole bottom piece now is flat. Going to readjust my tool holder and then work on carving these edges out. Here's a profile view so far. We're going to have some issues right here with that crack going down pretty deep. A couple other ones there. The bowl edge is coming up. This is going to be the wing, and we need to cut this up high enough so this flat spot disappears. And then that'll bring this edge up also. Okay, I'm going to continue to carve away until I get this higher, and we'll check on these two spots in a couple minutes. We still have an issue with this fracture going down through. That could be a game changer. If you look at the difference here, this part of the wood here is solid. See this creamy white color? That looks more like rot to me than anything else. This is the one side of the bowl. Here's your high wing. There's the other side. I will sharpen my tool just about every 2 to 3 minutes to keep that edge very sharp. Now, one of the things you need to remember about running a live bowl is that here you can see the tool is resting on the wood as it's spinning around. And then through this area here, the tool is above that piece of wood and then reconnects again. You're going to feel this as a thump, 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 thump. Okay. You have to be very careful when you're doing this area here that your tool doesn't dig in too deep and that you have enough RPMs to get it to pass across the top. These are blank so far. The top edge is nice and smooth. Do have one bark inclusion or rot hole. We'll find that out. And the second side is all smoothed out. This is the end that's got the rot into it. There's quite a few cracks in it. We're going to do it anyways, just to see what it comes out like. I've put my mortise on there so I can grab a hold of it with my chuck. All right, let's turn this around, put it in my chuck, and start on the inside. In order to make my life a little easier, I have a 2-inch 4-inch bit set on my drill chuck. I'm going to drill it in there and give me a depth. My bowl depth is approximately 2.5 inches. I poured my hole 1 7/8 inch deep, and now I'll start to hollow out the middle. Okay, I've got my hole bored. Now I'm ready to start peeling this back. And I put my bowl gouging rest in here, which will allow me to get to the bottom without having any trouble. Here's the edge of our bowl. As you can see, just a little bit over 1/4 inch. At this point, I'm going to start to sand and see what it looks like. Sanding a live edge bowl is rather tricky because you have these two high points. In between you have nothing. So that when you're sanding coming around, you're going to fall through this gap. You pretty much have to you can sand the bottom and then up a little bit on the sides, but once you get up into here, you have to stop the lathe rotation and actually get in there by hand to finish off the top of the two wings. When you first start to sand this bowl, remember, these edges here are very, very sharp. I would highly recommend that whenever you're sanding this, that you have gloves on to protect your hand, because you catch that edge and it will slice you open in a heartbeat. Less than that. Okay, let's give this a little internal sanding, and then we'll work on the wings afterwards. That's a good start at 120 grit. Now I'm going to have to do these wings by hand. Here's what the bowl looks like after it's been sanded. Got a wormhole that I found. We have this big bark inclusion there on the side. Then we've got the decay here. And then another wormhole that I discovered right there. It's not a show quality bowl, that's for sure, but it's very pretty. I think what we're going to do is just spray some polyurethane on it, give it a quick finish coat. Some very nice grain to it. both sides nicely inside there. You know, sometimes these work out really well, and sometimes they just don't. And this is one of those cases due to the knot hole there and the cracks in the middle. It just didn't work out, but it's still a nice little bowl to keep in the workshop.